YouTube viewers, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is a show by the people, for the people. And you, my friends, are my people. So join in and be an active participant in our growing community. In today's show, if you haven't been initiated, this show is powered by Super 70 Sports, a little account that I started on X back when it was Twitter about 10 years ago. We like to bring the funny and sprinkle that throughout every program, and we will certainly be doing that today. And where are all of the American NBA superstars? But we'll begin today. The USA-Canada rematch is going to occur. Pretty exciting. I would argue to you it's the biggest night for American hockey since this. America pulled off the greatest upset. Some people still consider it to be the greatest upset in the history of sports. Do you believe in miracles? Yes, said Al Michaels, one of the most famous calls ever, as we beat the Soviet Union 4-3. That wasn't the gold medal game. Some people forget. We didn't win the gold that night. We put ourselves in a position to play for the gold. That came later, and yeah, we won that too. The greatest set of ragtag underdogs that you've ever seen. The Miracle movie where Kurt Russell plays Coach Herb Brooks. Outstanding. Again. Some of you know the scene that I'm talking about. Tonight we play with them. Tonight we skate with them. Tonight we're the greatest hockey team in the world, said Herb Brooks. Did you know when Kurt Russell read that speech, I believe that it was just verbatim? Herb Brooks' speech. They didn't even need to Hollywood it up. That fucking speech was so legendary. He just read the man's words. Incredible moment in the history of not only American hockey, but in American sports as well. And so we got a showdown tonight, and the man that I want to bring in right now to help me talk about it and put it on a tee for you, because I'll tell you this, my friends, I never thought, I'm not Johnny Hockey, although I'm rocking my Boston Bruins sweater today in honor of the big game in Boston tonight, but I grew up in Kentucky. I wasn't a huge hockey fan, and so for me, this Kentucky kid, to be jacked up for this game tonight in February, I'm going to be in front of the television. I'm going to be watching it from the top of the broadcast until the end, and that tells you that something special is going on, because that ain't ordinarily my vibe. It might be a little bit more of the vibe of my guest today. Let me bring in now OutKick's outstanding Senior Director of Content. He is, of course, the commissioner of the Thursday Night Mowing League. Joe Kinsey joins me. Joe, this thing, I don't know. It's amazing how much that game in Montreal suddenly captured our imagination as a country. And now tonight, Canada comes to American soil looking for retribution, and we're looking to carry the storybook finish to its conclusion. What are you expecting, Joe?
Ricky, I'm expecting electricity to be running through TD Garden. I mean, are you kidding me? It is 11:23 here in the East Coast, and the energy, you can already feel it online, Ricky. Americans know what's at stake tonight. The Canadians think we don't care about hockey here. It does nothing in the ratings. Canada can kiss our ass today, Ricky. This is America's sport now. We own Canada. We own Justin Trudeau. They tried to boo our national anthem. They're going to find out it's their own national anthem here pretty soon, Ricky, when they're the 51st state. Ricky, I am mere miles from Canada right now. I can smell the Tim Hortons wafting over Lake Erie. It is a frozen tundra out there. Canada, we own your ass tonight in Boston. It is going to be a bloodbath, Ricky. I already had the TV on. And I'm ready.
Joe, I'm torn. I love the people of Canada. I really do. There are so many great Canadian citizens. Now, not the ones that are booing our anthem. They can go fuck themselves. They know who they are. But there are a lot of great Canadians. Now, Justin Trudeau, he's despicable. I can't stand this motherfucker. All right? But having said that, What do you make of this? Like, I'm not used to us throwing down with this kind of viciousness with our generally pretty genial neighbors to the north.
Well, I mean, listen, Ricky, Canada brought this upon themselves. They wanted the fight, and the Americans said, "You want to fight? We'll take it to you." They found out in this last game over the weekend. I mean, this is on the Canadian fans, Ricky. I don't think the players even thought anything like this was going to come to them. And the American team brought the fight right to the Canadians, and they were like, "Whoa, what the hell just happened?" And this soy boy, Justin Trudeau, he sends his goon squads out there, his goon fans, to boo the national anthem. They had it coming, Ricky. They're going to get it again tonight. Buckle up, Trudeau. It's coming again. Pain train, Ricky. Pain train.
All right, Joe. All right, Joe. We got a little bit of bulletin board material here. Any good game like this needs some of that. I don't know that either team needs a lot more to get fired up about. But Brandon Hagel of Team Canada says, "I did it for the flag," referring to the fight at the start of the last game, "not for the cameras. We don't have any group chats going on." And he has taken a dig there at the Kachuk brothers and JT Miller, who had planned out that they were going to drop the gloves and throw hands here. What do you think of Hagel's comments, Joe?
Hagel is playing defense, Ricky. This is you're not on the offensive when you're sending out these messages after the fact. This is Canada is playing total defense. They're not going to come out and do this to the Americans. I can guarantee you that. Hagel is going to go after Kachuk on American soil. No way, no how. That's not happening. I mean, if I'm the U.S. team, I'm loving that Hagel's opening his mouth. He's just adding fuel to the fire. The atmosphere is going to be insane, and Hagel's probably going to be turtling, Ricky. You know what that means?
He's gonna have winter penis.
Yes,
that's what Ronnie T-shirts would say. I think. Hey, look, Joe. One downside here is, unfortunately, President Trump is not going to be in the house.
Yeah.
We had hope yesterday that he would be here. You can see Trump truthing out. I believe that is. I see the red check, and I know that that's Truth Social. He says, "I'll be calling our great American hockey team this morning to spur them on towards victory against Canada, which with far lower taxes and much stronger security will someday, maybe soon, become our cherished and very important 51st state. I'll be speaking before the governors tonight in D.C. and will sadly therefore be unable to attend, but we'll all be watching, and if Governor Trudeau would like to join us, he would be most welcome. Good luck to everybody. Have a great game tonight. So exciting." President Donald J. Trump. So he's not going to be there, but he definitely is putting the needle to Justin Trudeau and the Canadians.
I mean, is Trudeau not the easiest one to needle in the world? I mean, he is the biggest soy boy in politics, and Trump knows it. Trudeau went down there, Ricky, after Trump won. He bent the knee there. He is so weak that this hockey could not have played into the politics any better. The sports that we're enjoying right now is all because of Trump winning. And that's the beauty of this week. Trump owns Trudeau. Trudeau knows it. He's on defense. And tonight, his team, can you imagine? Canada loses in this Four Nations thing. They should be winning it, right, Ricky? I mean, Canada owns the sport, and Trudeau is going to have to. He's going to have to show his face after he loses. I can't wait for it.
Joe, it's kind of weird in a sense here, because Canada, it's like, they need this more than we do, really, and it's incredible to me. One of the stats that I did not realize is that, and you probably already know this, Joe, but no Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup since the Canadians in 1993. We got people out here walking around the world that are 31 years old, and they haven't had a Canadian team hoist the Stanley Cup in their fucking lifetime, which is crazy. I mean, this would be a big win for Canada here to, I don't know, maybe we are taking over, Joe.
And not only that, they've had to watch teams in Florida win it, right? Like all these Florida teams win it, and it's like, oh my God, you can play hockey in the South now. And so now Canada's, again, should be their sport. It's not their sport. Tonight, the U.S. has to step up and just say, we're not giving you any of these trophies. You don't win anything. So can't wait for that.
Remember when it was their sport, Joe? Take a
Yes.
look at this. The Oilers were generally considered Canada's worst prom band of the early 80s. Hang on. I'm being told that this was actually the best hockey team in the world. And thank God for that. Look at that crew. Get some vitamin D, will you? Those guys haven't seen the sun since the last time that an American team had, I don't know, won gold in the Olympics. I think the last time Gretzky got outside was the day that we beat the Riskies.
That's January in Edmonton, I guess. Hey, by the way, Gretzky's been wearing the Make America Great hat again. And I mean, can you imagine what's going through Trudeau's head? His cherished Wayne Gretzky supporting Trump has to be one of the biggest, depressing moments in Justin Trudeau's life. So again, everything's in favor of the U.S. right now. Even Wayne Gretzky is rooting for us. Imagine that. He hasn't lived in Canada in 40 years.
That's right. We've got Gretzky. How do you guys like that? How you like them apples?
We even took their biggest star.
Sean McDonough from ESPN, who's going to be calling the game tonight, says that he hopes that we won't boo "Oh Canada" tonight and that we go crazy for our own anthem. A couple of questions here. Do you think that the Canadian anthem will get booed? And if you were in the house, what would Joe Kinsey be doing during "Oh Canada"?
I think there will be some booing. I don't have a problem with it. Fair's fair. Let's have some fun here. Let's boo them back. I wouldn't be booing. You know what? I just stand there and analyze everybody else. I'd probably be recording, Ricky. I'd probably have a phone out recording the Americans booing it for the content, Ricky. I'm in the content business. I have to think content. So that's where I would be on it. But again, I don't have a problem if they boo them tonight. I mean, listen, it's sports. It's like you come to our country after booing our anthem, you're going to get booed back. That's just the way this works. That's sports.
Yeah, look, it's going to be hard for me to imagine that it's going to sound like church in there when they play the Canadian anthem. I kind of hope that they don't, though, because I think the baller move is we don't do it, and then we go crazy during the Star Spangled Banner, like we do here in Chicago every game. The Blackhawks, it's whether we're any good or not. Some nights that's the highlight of going to a Blackhawks game. But if we do that, I think that would be pretty cool. Ticket prices are coming down, or at least they were a little bit. Take a look at this, Joe. At least at one point here, you were able to grab a ticket for just under $1,000. But we'll see if that holds or if they're going to surge again. $994 as of yesterday to get in there. Where do you stand? I mean, where's the limit on what you're willing to spend to go to a sporting event, Joe? It's getting a little cost prohibitive for a lot of people, I would imagine.
Yeah. I was just about to say, is that not the most expensive ticket in hockey history? It feels like what else would be higher than that? Like the Olympics, maybe in a tight arena, but I don't feel like there's been a ticket that has averaged that price. What would I be able to spend? I mean, $500 maybe. It seems like if you get to 900, it's like a huge commitment. I don't have that kind of money, Ricky. I have kids, I feel like $1,000, I'm out. I'll just watch it on TV.
Yeah. It's too fucking much. The rent is too high, as the guy once said. Do you think we'll get another fight tonight? Take a look at this. Here's a fight for you, Joe. Have a look at this one. This is classic old school NHL brawling at its finest. Here we go. Look at this. This is like the Hagler Hearns.
Flames and
of hockey. Yes, sir. Yeah, it looks like we got a Flames Canucks beat down. Look at this, man. Those guys are just throwing. I feel like Chris Tucker and Fry. I'm like, damn. That is Look at that. And the referee, look at that.
At his face.
I think that was Tiger. I think that was Dave Tiger Williams, in fact. Right there. Look at me knowing a little something about hockey. Or
I mean, they didn't get cheated. That's the key. Ricky, that's the key to these fights. They didn't get cheated. Nobody ducked. Nobody turtled like Justin Trudeau, soy boy. These two Canadian tough guys stood there and took it. That's what you like to see, not soy boy.
Yeah, they did.
Look at that.
What do you think about fighting in hockey? Look, ESPN is Molly Karam over at ESPN is at least strongly hinting that the reason that hockey players get away with fighting, people are saying, she didn't come out and say it, Joe, but you don't have to be great at reading between the lines to understand that she appeared to be hinting that there's a certain hypocrisy there, that it's okay for them to fight because they're white guys, is what people are alleging. She did not say that, but...
Have white people ever gone nuts over black guys fighting in hockey? I mean, there's been tons of black guys fighting in hockey. Black guys fighting black guys, black guys fighting white guys. It's hockey. That's what they do. She's acting like it's going to be a racist thing if we see a basketball fight. Hell no. I'm happy if the basketball players fight. Ricky, you're in the content business. You understand. We need people doing something interesting. The NBA is so boring. Nobody gives a shit about it. Let them fight, Ricky. I'm not going to have no think piece on it. I'm going to have content. I'm going to have that shit on Facebook, Instagram, all over the place. Molly Quirum's just, what she did? She got orders from some DEI or hiree to turn up the racism on their own show. That's why she did it this week. Disgusting. That was absolutely disgusting. She tried to take away from what Four Nations has been doing this week, and that was a piss poor attempt to get us to get fired up over it. I'm fired up, but I'm not going to fall for her trap.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's buying it. It's been a time-honored tradition in hockey since the first time they ever dropped a puck upon frozen liquid. Joe, I don't know. Here's something interesting, Joe. Tim, what do we got? Throw it up here for us, Tim. Yeah, look at this. You talk about the great upsets in history. We talk about the Miracle on Ice. We talk about Tyson Buster Douglas. How about the Miracle on Mud, Joe? When you're talking about the greatest upsets we've ever seen, don't sleep on the night that Dewey Oxberger stunned the world in a 4-on-1 mixed gender handicap match with John Winger in his corner counseling him like Mickey used to tell Rocky what to do. Still inspirational. I feel like if the USA team could get a hold of this scene from Stripes and watch it before the game tonight, Canada truly would have no chance, Joe.
What a scene. We need more mud wrestling. Whatever happened to mud wrestling? Ricky, somebody needs to bring it back. Do I have to get mud wrestlers on screen caps to bring it back? I need that back. Where is that content? I need it again.
Joe, maybe that's something that OutKick can do. Maybe we can bring about the OutKick mud wrestling. You've already made mowing lawns a fucking must-see event. If you can do that with lawnmowers, what can you do with scantily clad ladies in mud, Joe?
Think how cheap it is to do mud. It's just mud.
Right. Yeah, there's not a lot of cost. It's like the same reason that soccer is a great sport around the world. All you need is a ball, right?
Yeah.
So all you need is a little mud and just start grappling, and you're there. Chris Kluwe, former punter for the Minnesota Vikings, carried out by police during a city council meeting in Huntington Beach, California, as he protested what he called the MAGA plague. Let's take a look.
Unfortunately, it's clear that this council does not listen, so instead I'm going to take my time to say what MAGA has stood for these past 3 weeks. MAGA stands for trying to erase trans people from existence. MAGA stands for resegregation and racism. MAGA stands for censorship and book bans. MAGA stands for firing air traffic controllers while planes are crashing. MAGA stands for firing the people overseeing our nuclear arsenal. MAGA stands for firing military veterans and those serving them at the VA, including canceling research on veteran suicide. MAGA stands for cutting funds to education, including for disabled children. MAGA is profoundly corrupt, unmistakably anti-democracy, and most importantly, MAGA is explicitly a Nazi movement. You may have replaced a swastika with a red hat, but that is what it is. I will now engage in the time-honored American tradition of peaceful civil disobedience.
Get the heck. Get out.
Carry that communist out of that meeting. I say, there haven't been any air traffic controllers fired. I don't think that the cattle cars have come to take away the trans people yet. I don't feel like I'm a Nazi. You're calling me a Nazi, motherfucker. Calling a lot of people Nazis. You're calling the people who elected Donald Trump, everybody in every battleground state that Donald Trump swept. You're calling them a Nazi. Go fuck yourself. That little speech that you gave, that was a touchback. Chris Kluwe, idiot. Megyn Kelly knows what's up. I will say this for Chris Kluwe. I fully support his right to go into public and say things that I disagree with. I think pretty much everything he said there is profoundly false. Some of it objectively false. You can't even debate it, but I will fight to the death for his right to stand up at a meeting and be an idiot. Because I get to come on this program and I get to call it as I see it too. That's what makes America different. That's what J.D. Vance was referring to at the Munich Security Conference. It's why I'm so troubled about 60 Minutes sitting down with German prosecutors and the interviewer playing footsie with them while they talk about the erosion of the basic fundamental rights of the German people. Far too many people within our country want to see free speech curtailed, limited, broken. Megyn Kelly understands what's up. Let's listen to Megyn Kelly on the subject of free speech and why it's so important to everything that we hold dear as Americans.
People today, they actually think hate speech is unconstitutional. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not. Just for those of you playing at home, it's not. Hate speech is not unconstitutional. It may be offensive, but welcome to America. We're allowed to offend here. Mm-hmm. Right? So.
Can you say that one more time? I just want to be sure everybody heard what you just said.
Welcome to America. We're allowed to offend here. There's nothing more American than getting up there and saying the thing because you genuinely feel it, or just to remind people that's the beauty of being born here. There are places all over the world that would kill for that right. They would kill for that right. And people are trying to erode it right now in this country. It's the bedrock of who we are. And so if we don't fight for it, we will lose it.
And we've got millions and millions of people who don't even appreciate it. People who have had it so good their entire life to be born in this country where you can speak your mind without fear of them coming to get you and take you away, as we are seeing ratcheting up throughout Europe, the United Kingdom as well, for that matter. Chris Kluwe called Donald Trump and Donald Trump's supporters Nazis. Well, I'm offended by that. That hurts my feelings. You called me a Nazi, punter. Okay? Does that mean that if we lived in the kind of country that Chris Kluwe presumably voted for? Remember Tim Walz? I'll say it again. I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. There's no right to hateful speech, as Megyn Kelly just pointed out. Wrong. Not if you believe in the First Amendment. There's no such thing as misinformation. Well, Chris Kluwe was spewing misinformation and hate. In the country that he wants to live in, I assume that that's the kind of thing that you wouldn't have the right to do. So you're standing up in the country where you have the right to call people Nazis. You have the right to say things that are completely inaccurate, objectively. No air traffic controllers fired. That's just simply not true. That's not even opinion. All right? So he's spewing misinformation. He's spewing hate. But I'll stand up for his right to do it, because I don't want to live in the country where we lose our right to say what we believe. Gayle King is another on CBS this morning. She's talking with the CEO of Delta Airlines, Ed Bastian, and I don't think the direction of Mr. Bastian's answer matched what Gayle King was angling for.
The Trump administration recently fired many employees of the FAA administration. Do those cuts worry you, and do you think that impacts the safety? I know you just said it's the safest way to travel, but after looking at all these mishaps, a lot of people are very nervous. Do these cuts affect you?
The cuts do not affect us, Gail. I've been in close communication with the Secretary of Transportation. I understand that the cuts at this time are something that are raising questions, but the reality is there's over 50,000 people that work at the FAA, and the cuts, I understand, were 300 people, and they were in non-critical safety functions. The Trump administration has committed to investing deeply in terms of improving the overall technologies that are used in the air traffic control systems and modernizing the skies. They've committed to hiring additional controllers and investigators and safety investigators. So no, I'm not concerned with that at all.
So how about that, Gail? He's not concerned about it at all. They weren't critical safety roles. They're trying to do everything that they can right out of the gate. I mean, you want to talk about not giving somebody even the beginning of a fair chance. Right away, Trump's been president for 4 days, and you got Margaret Brennan saying to J.D. Vance, well, what about prices? He's been president for 4 days at the time, was J.D. Vance's response. And now, of course, we had a tragedy in Washington, D.C. We had the plane flip that was Canada bound, flipping there in Canada. And suddenly, immediately, we got to do everything we can to try to tie this to the Donald Trump agenda. That plane flipped over because of Donald Trump. Do you realize how stupid you sound when you say things like that? Clay Travis tweeting, it doesn't matter what Trump says. The legacy media disagrees with him. Future historians are going to marvel at how crazy the left wing became in this country. I don't think we've ever seen anything like the woke virus. And look at this Washington Post headline that Clay is referring to. Trump says there are two sexes. Experts in science says it's not binary. Since when? Since fucking when? There have been about 10,000 generations of human beings since the dawn of humanity, somewhere in that ballpark. We only got confused about the fact that there are two fucking sexes in about the last 15 minutes. I think history is going to record Donald Trump as being correct, and the experts, who's the fucking expert that doesn't understand men and women? Who doesn't understand XY chromosome and XX chromosome? Yes, there are genetic abnormalities and anomalies that occur in an exceedingly small percentage of cases, where you have people who have complicated genitalia. I believe complicated genitalia was the name of Ronnie T-Shirt's jazz fusion band back when he was in college. But look, let's understand the reality. 99% plus of the time, we're talking about male or female, clear cut. But the experts would have you believe, not so fast. There's actually 3,147 genders. Fuck off with that. Tired of the nonsense. History is going to record this as one of the most bizarre times ever in the history of modern society. And they're going to wonder why it took us so long to turn things around. But thank God we're in the process of that. It's almost easy to forget after the first month of the Trump administration what it was like for the last 4 years. Take a look at this. ABC News asking, who's in charge with Doge? They're deeply concerned now about who's in charge of what's going on with Doge. And you can see Wesley Hunt here tweeting, after 4 years of this, suddenly now we wonder who's in charge. We all know Joe Biden wasn't running the country. Joe Biden didn't know where he was half the fucking time. I exaggerate only slightly, because if you were paying attention, we all saw it. The clear-cut signs of dementia. As Bob Dylan once said, you don't have to be a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. I'm not an expert on dementia, but I know when I see somebody that is declining. And Joe Biden was clearly declining throughout his presidency, and the real reason that the Democrats wanted that first debate with Donald Trump so early, earlier than we had seen a general election debate in years and years and years and years, is because privately they knew there was a chance he was going to go out there and fuck up profoundly because of his deficiencies. And that's exactly what happened. And they wanted to buy themselves enough time to reset and put their chosen candidate in place, which of course was Kamala Harris, who was not selected by the Democratic primary voters. She was anointed by the Democratic power brokers. Now, as far as who's in control of Doge, I assume that that's Elon Musk, who is working at the behest of President Donald Trump. Now, I'll tell you who's not in charge in the NBA, and that's American-born players. Red-blooded American players. What happened to the great American players? Well, there are still plenty. But did you know that the last 6 MVPs in the National Basketball Association have all been foreign-born? We haven't had an American-born NBA MVP since James Harden in 2018. The goddamn beard is the last guy to do it. And that was, unthinkable. If you go back to the era of the Dream Team, when I believe the Dream Team's average margin of victory in the 1992 Olympics was 43 points, I'm pretty sure. You can fact check me on that. I feel like it was 43 points a game that they won by. Just absolutely laying the wood to every other country in the world. It would have been unthinkable if you had said to a 21-year-old Ricky Cobb in the summer of 1992, hey, guess what? When you're in your 50s, foreign players are going to be dominating the NBA. They're going to be racking up MVP awards year after year after year. And Stephen A. Smith thinks it's a problem. And let's go to the tape and see what Stephen A. has to say about the proliferation of international greatness in the NBA and why it's not necessarily a great thing for the league.
My personal opinion is I don't believe an international player can be the face of the NBA. I know they're global iconic figures. Their popularity extends globally. But the NBA is an American-born sport. And it needs to resonate in America. And if it doesn't resonate in America, then it's not going to matter to America how you resonate beyond. And so that's just my mentality, UD. That's how I think about it. Not to say they can't be popular or what have you, but I just think about it that way. Shannon, as to your point that you made yesterday, UD wasn't here when you made it. I understand your point, and you're absolutely right. You can't want something more for somebody else than they want for themselves. And I totally get that. But that doesn't mean I'm not entitled to my wish list. And my wish is that Anthony Edwards changes his mind.
Stephen A. saying that, yeah, it may be good for the game overall on a global basis, but what about the NBA here in America, where, let's face it, for a lot of us, we've lost some interest. Part of that is the style of play, but maybe part of that for some people is the relative lack of American dominance that they were used to years ago. Now, I can understand counterpoints to this as well. Who is the face of Major League Baseball right now? I would have to say to you, it's Shohei Ohtani, who had 54 home runs and 59 stolen bases, and he captured everybody's imagination this season, going 50-50 in a year where he couldn't pitch. Oh, by the way, the guy who went 50-50 is also a 15-game winner who has a season where he struck out over 200 batters and finished in the top 5 in the Cy Young voting. He's Japanese, though. Does that harm his popularity? Look, it hasn't held him back, but I will say this. If Shohei Ohtani was American and doing the same thing, it would be Beatlemania in this country at a level that is even above what we've already seen. We used to marvel at the American stars of the past. Look at this. Dr. J, you remember Julius Erving? I know some of you do. You're old like me. Take a look at this. 1980 NBA Finals. I want you to consider this angle of maybe the most famous layup in the history of basketball. I would say it's the most impressive layup that I've ever seen. Mac McClung can do whatever gymnastics he wants to do to come in from the G League or wherever they bring that fucker in from every year to dominate the slam dunk contest. I will take this layup over 100 gimmicked up dunks for sheer impressiveness. And if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But look at this angle and then consider he made that. A reverse layup. He made that. You tell me how that's fucking possible. Julius Erving. Fucking legend. Maybe we do need a couple more Julius Ervings to arrive in the NBA. American players that are able to go toe-to-toe with the Jokic's and Doncic's of the league.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.